There's an ironic truth in life. When we're young, we're caught up in work, family, and obligations, dreaming of distant travels as a way to escape the hectic grind. But when we grow old, when time finally seems to be on our side, no longer bound by packed schedules or family responsibilities, everyone suddenly wants to pack their bags and hit the road. Many believe that old age is the perfect time to enjoy life, through long trips and adventures. But is it really so? Behind the vibrant appearance of check-in photos, behind the content smiles and travel experience videos shared by older travelers, lie the untold truths. Things that, if you knew beforehand, might make you reconsider the idea of dropping everything to travel once you've passed 65. Not every journey is a tonic for the soul. Sometimes, it marks the beginning of a series of negative impacts on your body, your emotions, and even the creeping loneliness you may not yet recognize. Don't get me wrong. No one is denying the value of exploring new places, breathing fresh air, and changing your surroundings. But when you reach an age where every step must be taken with care, the hidden risks must also be seriously weighed. These aren't popular truths because they kill the vibe, because they make people feel like their right to enjoy is being taken away. Yet knowing these realities to prepare better may be the most important gift you can give yourself as an older adult. If you're considering booking your first big trip after retirement, or you're feeling drawn to the call of traveling in old age to fully live your final years, take a few moments to read this article carefully, not to hold you back, but to help you travel at the right time, in the right way, or perhaps not travel at all, and still feel your life is full, on your own terms. Physical stress beyond tolerance. Travel often involves frequent movement, changes in time zones, unpredictable weather, long walks or climbs, and irregular eating schedules. These factors can place immense strain on the cardiovascular system, joints, and immune defenses, already weakened by age. Disruption of biological rhythms and sleep. Sudden environmental changes, inconsistent routines, unfamiliar lighting, and sounds make it difficult for older adults to adapt, often leading to insomnia and prolonged fatigue. A lack of deep sleep during a long trip can throw the body seriously off balance. Emotional and psychological effects that are hard to detect. Upon returning from a trip, many seniors experience a sense of letdown, emptiness, or deeper loneliness than before. Feelings like it's all over, there's nothing left to look forward to, or even, I went to find myself, but I still feel lost, are signs of underlying depression, often mistaken for simple post-trip exhaustion. Loss of connection with familiar surroundings and stable routines. Older adults need consistency and stability to maintain mental and physical health. Suddenly leaving a familiar environment for an extended time can erode their sense of security. Unfamiliar foods, disrupted medication routines, and disorderly living can have long-term effects. Cost, expectations, and quiet disappointment. Many seniors spend heavily on trips, hoping for a life-changing experience, only to return with fatigue, disappointment, or even regret. The financial burden combined with the lingering feeling of, I should have known better, can deeply hurt their self-esteem. Not everyone realizes that the human body, as it enters the aging stage, undergoes not only biological changes, but also becomes extremely sensitive to even the slightest environmental influences. A small change in temperature can suddenly raise blood pressure. An unfamiliar meal can cause digestive issues that last for an entire week. And yet, during travel, an experience filled with unfamiliar elements, people often overlook or downplay these risks. Trips often begin with excitement, but sometimes they end quietly, with a mix of indescribable feelings. A tired body, a deflated spirit, a confused mind. Not because the trip wasn't beautiful or enjoyable, but because it no longer suits this phase of life. What once brought joy now becomes a burden. Journeys that once sparked heart-fluttering anticipation now make the heart race with anxiety, especially for those who haven't left their familiar surroundings in years. A first trip after a long time can deeply alter their physiology and emotions more than they realize. They may not notice it, but their loved ones will. A once stable person now appears fatigued, irritable, increasingly sleepless, and seems to be withdrawing from everyday life. Travel requires more than a ticket. It requires good health, mental resilience, and adaptability. Unfortunately, many elderly travelers bring along a fragile heart and a body no longer able to withstand the strain. They go in search of joy, but return with small wounds that are hard to heal. Some believe that thorough preparation can prevent all risks. That is true, up to a point, because there are things you simply cannot prepare for. The body's reaction to high altitude, air pressure, overly dry, or humid climates. There are things beyond your control: delayed flights, disappointing accommodations, unfamiliar food, or something as simple as unfamiliar nighttime noises disrupting sleep in a foreign place. Old age calls for calm. Peace doesn't come from going to many places, but from feeling safe within oneself. Some people find that peace while sipping tea in their garden. Others find it watching the rain from a familiar window. And some, only after a long journey, realize that what they truly needed was not to explore the world, but to find peace where they belong. Another issue, rarely spoken of but very real, is the sense of isolation when stepping into an unfamiliar place. Young people can easily make friends, chat, and blend in, but older adults often struggle to open up to strangers, making them feel left out and alone. They might be in a luxurious hotel room, but still feel lonely. They might smile in travel photos, but feel emptiness inside. As people age, they become more emotionally sensitive, but also more withdrawn. Emotional changes can be sudden, sometimes leading to a prolonged state of sadness after a trip. They might not call it depression, but in truth, it's a mild psychological injury, one that builds up over time if not understood or shared. Moreover, extended travel can interrupt daily healthcare routines. Timely medication, familiar food, regular medical checkups, all can be forgotten or disrupted. This negligence can lead to serious consequences, sometimes taking months to recover from. Don't forget that in the twilight years, the body recovers much more slowly. A tiring trip may not just cause a few sleepless nights. It could trigger prolonged exhaustion, a weakened immune system, respiratory or digestive illness, or even a stroke if care is not taken. Someone once said, "The older we get, the less we want to go out, not because we're lazy, but because we've come to understand the value of peace." Not everyone needs to travel far to feel alive. Sometimes a small garden, a familiar routine, a deep conversation with a loved one are what truly nourish the soul. The sad truth is, few are willing to admit that a long-awaited trip actually made them feel worse, because they don't want to disappoint their family, because they invested so much money and effort, because everyone believes travel is joyful. But sometimes the wisest thing to do isn't to prove we're still young at heart, but to listen to our own body and emotions. As long as you are healthy and clear-minded, you have every right to live life your way. But remember, that choice should come with awareness and self-care. Wherever you go, whatever you do, it should be built on the foundation of health and inner peace. Life isn't measured by how many places you've been, but by how many times you've truly felt happiness, even while sitting quietly in a small room. True fulfillment doesn't come from photos, but from knowing you are living in alignment with yourself, without chasing anything, without forcing yourself to meet any societal expectations. Some trips end not with satisfaction, but with a prolonged feeling of exhaustion. When people are young, their bodies can withstand the motion sickness, early mornings to catch the sunrise, restless nights on hard seats of buses, trains, or planes. But as they age, all of these things are no longer fun experiences. They become challenges, even hidden dangers. There are those who, after a trip, end up in the hospital due to sudden high blood pressure. Some return home, but struggle to regain their normal routine for a month. Others say they couldn't sleep well throughout the journey due to unfamiliar beds, strange sounds, and the anxiety of being away from their familiar surroundings. However, what most elderly people regret the most is not their health, but the feeling of unmet expectations. A trip they had high hopes for, to bring joy, refreshment, and a sense of youth, ends up leaving them feeling empty. No one teaches them how to face the truth that some things that once brought them happiness in their youth are no longer suitable. This sadness is not easy to put into words. Older adults often don't want to complain, fearing they'll be labeled as difficult, negative, or too old to enjoy anything anymore. They remain silent, but internally, they are full of thoughts. Am I trying to become someone I am no longer? Some people, after a trip, become more cautious, withdrawn, and feel tired just thinking about going anywhere far from home. Many choose silence, not sharing their true experience with their children or grandchildren for fear of being seen as outdated. They nod in agreement when asked, "Was the trip fun?" and smile faintly, but deep inside, they just want to return to the peacefulness they once had. Then, there is another detail that few notice: the regret over finances. Not all elderly people are financially well off. Many use their lifetime savings to go on a trip they consider a memory or a reward for themselves. But if that trip doesn't meet their expectations, the regret silently gnaws at them. Some may never say it, but they constantly ask themselves, should I have saved that money for something more practical? The feeling of waste of time, health, and money can lead to a psychological shock, especially when they return from the trip with a weaker body, a more unstable mind, and confusion about whether they should continue traveling or stop altogether. The real fear doesn't lie in a trip that didn't go as planned. It lies in the gradual loss of self-confidence. Someone who was once strong and independent now starts to doubt their ability to take care of themselves and make decisions. They become more dependent, cautious, and fearful of even the smallest changes. But from this, the elderly can learn a profound lesson. Not every trip means living fully. Sometimes, living fully means knowing when enough is enough, listening to your body and heart. It means knowing when to say no to invitations that are no longer for you, and prioritizing peace over fleeting moments. Maturity in old age is not about how many things you can accomplish, but about the ability to let go of things no longer needed. Not going anymore doesn't mean weakness, but rather an understanding of what is truly important to you. It could be a morning spent reading a book in the gentle sunlight. It could be a simple meal shared with loved ones. It could be a quiet afternoon, listening to birds singing, sipping tea, and feeling your heart beat slowly in perfect tranquility. There's no need to trek through forests, cross rivers, or fly to a distant country to find joy. For older people, happiness no longer comes from chasing the world, but from living deeply with each day they have. When you reach the final stages of life's journey, the most valuable thing is no longer another experience, but another healthy day, peacefully spent with the things you are familiar with. No one can stop you from traveling if you're still strong enough, but make sure you go because you truly want to, not because of social pressure, the feeling of falling behind, or the fear of living a dull life. True freedom doesn't lie in how far you go, but in whether you dare to refuse the things that no longer serve your happiness. Some people travel the world and still feel lonely. Others never leave their home, but live each day fully, deeply, and with love. Old age doesn't need to prove anything. It is a time to be gentle, to step back, and view life with a peaceful gaze. It is about understanding that sometimes, staying in one place is the wisest and bravest choice.